So now, Moses is up there. It says 40 days, 40 nights. It could be a long time in Hebrew writings at that time. 40 days, 40 nights is used a lot. It can be a span of a long time. It could have actually been 40 days and 40 nights. It doesn't matter. It was long enough for the Israelites to go, we think Moses left or something. Something happened to him. He's been up there for a long time. And they start freaking out. What are we going to do? He was the only way to God. And so they get his brother, Aaron, and say, hey, man, you're going to make us a god. You're going to make us an idol for us to worship. And I believe I don't think Aaron really had a choice in the matter. I think the way the Israelites are, I think he might have feared for his life. And I'm not letting him off the hook. I'm just saying the imperatives, when they're speaking to him and they say, make us an idol, it's like, you're going to make us an idol. And so, let me just read that section. This is Exodus 32. When the people saw that Moses delayed in coming down from the mountain, they gathered around Aaron, this is Moses' brother, Aaron, and said to him, come, make gods for us, who will go before us, because this Moses, the man who brought us up from the land of Egypt, we don't know what has happened to him. Aaron replied to them, take off the gold rings that are on the ears of your wives, your sons, and your daughters, and bring them to me. So all the people took off the gold rings that were on their ears and brought them to Aaron. He took the gold from them, fashioned it with an engraving tool, and made it into an image of a calf. Then they said, Israel, these are your gods, who brought you up from the land of Egypt. When Aaron saw all this, he built an altar in front of it and made an announcement. There will be a festival to the Lord tomorrow. Early the next morning they arose, offered burnt offerings, and presented fellowship offerings. The people sat down to eat and drink and got up the party. This is happening. They are making a god for themselves. While the God who has shown him through mighty acts is up there telling Moses how to build a place for him to actually come and dwell. The God of the universe is going to come dwell. And they get impatient and frantic and try to make their own God. Idol. But before we go bashing on the Israelites like we like to do, how many times have you known God is up to something, but got tired of waiting and jumped ahead of God, only to wake up the next morning and find out what God's plan really was and go, oh my goodness, I should have just waited on him. You know, it's like he tests us to see. He tests us. Are you going to wait? Are you going to trust? Are you going to have faith in me that I can do what I want to do in your life? All throughout the Israelite wanderings, they're being tested and tested and tested, and we get to watch that. And we get to see, oh, that's what's going on in my life. So, God tells Moses on the mountain, hey, this is how you do it. This is what you do. You build this, you make that, you sanctify this, you consecrate that. And you got all that, Moses? Okay, now before we start this building plan, I'm going to go down there and kill all the Israelites because they're just stiff-necked people. And I'm sick of it. And Moses was like, no, because he's a good dude. And God relents. He says, okay, Moses. But he was going to just start over with Moses, make a new nation out of Moses. And Moses is like, no. That will reflect badly on you, Lord. You know, he's interceding for the Israelites. And so the moral of the story is God's holiness is not something to play with. If Moses hadn't interceded on their behalf in this situation, God probably would have struck them all down for their disobedience and their unfaithfulness. The moral of the story is God is holy. Where he dwells is holy. And it's just not something to mess with. His holiness will kill us. Thinking we can walk up to God because of his holiness is like thinking we could just walk into the sun. Not going to happen. Not in the condition we're in. You won't get close to the sun. You couldn't put on a metal suit thick enough to walk into the sun. And that's just a minute little on the scale of what it would be like to try to approach God in the condition we are in, unholy, unrighteous. I was smoking a cigar this past week. I want to get your attention. With my neighbor. Evangelizing. No. Smoking a cigar with a cool guy. And he builds scaffolding. And he does this like on a large scale. We're talking Google buildings. We're talking big scaffolding. I didn't know. I mean, it's like a building of scaffolding outside of a building. I mean, it's just really crazy showing you videos. But anyway, he did one for Intel processing chip. And he said this building was so state-of-the-art and so, like, before they could go in, they had to remove everything, literally get sprayed with stuff like you see in the movies, and then get fresh garments because they can't bring a particle of dust into there or it would get into the vents in the system and damage, robots are carrying things around in there, he said. And that's what it is. That's what it is. We don't go to heaven. We don't get to bring sin into heaven. We don't get to bring filth into heaven. We got to be sprayed and given some new clothes. And that is Jesus' clothes. The robe of righteousness he puts on us when we say, okay, I'll take your holiness and not try to earn my own. I'll take your righteousness and not try to earn mine own. Mine are filthy rags. I would bring dirt into heaven. Lord Jesus, wash me in your blood. Wash me, sanctify me, set me apart so that I can be where you are. Because God is not common. He is set apart. He is holy. He's so holy that where he's at, angels are singing, holy, holy, holy is the Lord Almighty, all day and night. They never stop. He's on his throne being worshiped. But he has his eyes on us. He has his eyes on you and me at all times. From his holy place.